Today, I'll introduce myself, but since many of you probably know a lot about me already from my blog and my books and my videos at this channel, I thought I'd include some things that you probably don't know. So prepare to be surprised, maybe even shocked, by the 8 things that I'll reveal to you today. I'm Adam Beck, and this is Bilingual SuperKids, the channel that can help you experience greater success and joy raising bilingual or multilingual kids. Okay, you know that my first name is Adam, and my last name is Beck, but you probably don't know that my middle name is Paul. I don't know why my parents gave me that middle name, but to be honest, I wish they hadn't. I don't have anything against the name Paul, I just wish I didn't have a middle name at all, because people in Japan don't have middle names, and having a middle name means that it constantly causes confusion when there's paperwork or when someone wants to address me, like at the doctor's office. This is exactly why I didn't want to give middle names to my kids, since they're growing up in Japan. Based on my own experience, I thought it would help them avoid unnecessary headaches. And frankly, it was hard enough choosing first names that work well in both Japanese and English, because these are very different languages, and we wanted one name that was suitable for both. So it took quite a while to come up with names that could cover all the criteria we had, including things like pronunciation and meaning and the kanji characters for writing their names in Japanese. You probably know that I'm originally from the US. I grew up in a small city in western Illinois by the Mississippi River. Then I moved to New York to go to college, and after college, I went to graduate school in San Francisco. But you probably don't know that before I came to Japan in 1996, I lived in the Czech Republic for 2 years. I was a Peace Corps volunteer, and I was teaching English at a university there. That was my first time living abroad and my first experience having some success at learning a foreign language. Czech is a tough language, but I made progress in those 2 years, and I was able to engage in daily conversation with people who didn't speak English, which was a really cool experience for me. Of course, at this point, I've forgotten almost all of it, but I can still remember important words and phrases like pivo and na zdravie. You probably know that I love animals. I've often mentioned this in my blog posts and in my books. In fact, as a child, I dreamed of becoming a vet until I struggled in science classes in junior high school. Plus, my family has had 2 bearded dragons. Our first bearded dragon, FIFA, was the inspiration for several books I created with my son, including the wordless picture book, Bearded Dragon Home Alone, and the coloring book, Bearded Dragon Daydreams. And our second bearded dragon, Yogi, is sometimes a guest star in my videos, like this one on the 19 must-know principles for raising bilingual kids. But you probably don't know that I've had some unusual encounters with animals over the years. This includes kissing a giraffe and being attacked by a kangaroo. The most memorable moment, though, is the time I got bitten by a lion. When I tell people this, they usually don't believe me, but it's true. So then I have to show some proof, and I do have proof. Okay, it was a lion cub, but it was a lion. We were taking a picture at a zoo in Japan with a baby lion and a baby tiger when the baby lion suddenly bit me on the arm. I think he was just being playful, so it didn't hurt so much, but it was still pretty surprising. I'm just glad the lion bit me instead of my daughter. In hindsight, taking this picture probably wasn't the smartest thing I've ever done, but it did leave me with a good story. You probably know that I've lived in Hiroshima for many years. Before I came to Japan, I had no ability in Japanese, but I was encouraged by my experience learning Czech, and so I studied the language pretty hard when I got here, and I made a lot of progress early on. But you probably don't know that my Japanese level isn't as high as it could be, considering I've lived in Japan for so long. I'm fine with daily conversation, but I can't really talk freely about more complex topics. And I can't read or write as well as I'd like either. The main reason is that my children's English was always more important to me than my own Japanese. I know I could have and should have made stronger efforts to nurture both at the same time. With my bilingual aim for my kids, as well as my work in this field, I've been really disciplined about my actions over the years. But I haven't been as disciplined about improving my Japanese because it was already good enough for my needs. To be honest, I'm feeling some regret over not being more proactive about this. But now that my kids are older, I'm determined to be more disciplined again about studying Japanese, like I was before I became a parent. You probably know that I've been a teacher of bilingual and multilingual children for almost 30 years. After teaching English in the Czech Republic, I taught English to kids of all ages at Hiroshima International School. And even after leaving there, I've continued teaching English privately to bilingual kids locally and online. This is why I take such a practical approach to raising bilingual kids, not only because I'm a parent, but because I'm a teacher too. But you probably don't know that I've had many other kinds of jobs over the years too. When I was younger in the US, I was a waiter and a cook and a donut maker making donuts at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was a ticket taker at a movie theater and a salesman at a store that sold expensive cashmere sweaters. I was a good ticket taker, I guess, but I was terrible at selling sweaters. I got fired from that job after just a few weeks. I was also a drama teacher in schools and a director of children's theater, which I really enjoyed. And in Japan, I've also been a writer and an editor at the Hiroshima area newspaper. The articles I've worked on are in English and cover issues involving the atomic bombing, the A-bomb survivors, and nuclear weapons. You probably know that my kids are bilingual in Japanese and English. If you want to learn more about how we achieved this, even though they only attended Japanese schools, please watch this video next, How I Raised a Bilingual Child, Final Results After 19 Years. But you probably don't know that my kids have been learning other languages too. While they were growing up, they studied Spanish with a woman from Spain who lives in Hiroshima. In high school, my daughter took classes in French because her high school didn't offer Spanish. But now that she's in college, she's studying Spanish again. Meanwhile, my son is also studying French in high school, and he's been quite motivated. He even asked me to order extra French books for him to study on his own. And he's also interested in German because one of his friends is a German exchange student, and his class took a trip to Germany last year. So I won't be surprised if their multilingual ability continues to grow over the years ahead. The fact that they've been bilingual from birth has given them a stronger interest in other languages and a stronger knack for language learning. You know, of course, that Bilingual SuperKids is the name of this YouTube channel, and it's also the name of my website for supporting parents through coaching and online courses. If you want to maximize the success and joy of your family's bilingual or multilingual journey, stop by my site to learn how I can help. But you probably don't know that this is actually my second YouTube channel. My first YouTube channel is called Bilingual Monkeys, which is also the name of my blog. I didn't post a lot of videos there, and I haven't posted anything new in several years. But if you're curious, you can still see some interesting videos of my kids when they were younger, like Purple Monster in the Woods. You might also enjoy the funny interviews we did, where I interviewed my kids by asking them a bunch of ridiculous questions. And then they interviewed me by asking their own ridiculous questions too. What if you were in school and you fell asleep in class, and when you woke up, you were a beaver? What would you do?
The other kids were beavers too?
No, just you. You're the only beaver.
So I gnaw on the other kids.
You start gnawing on the other kids? Oh, would that be fun, do you think? Would they enjoy that?
Yeah.
Would you gnaw on your teacher too? Even the principal? Okay.
I'll gnaw on the school.
You'll gnaw that. Will you start gnawing on the walls of the school? You will? Ridiculous interviews like these can be a really fun and productive activity with your kids. And of course, you'll then have some wonderful videos that you'll love watching again when they're older. You probably know that I've written several books about raising bilingual children, including Maximize Your Child's Bilingual Ability, Bilingual Success Stories Around the World, and I Want to Be Bilingual. I'm happy to say that these books have been read widely by parents all over the world, and Maximize Your Child's Bilingual Ability has also been translated into Polish. So as an author, I've been most successful writing nonfiction about raising bilingual kids. But you probably don't know that I've also written a novel. It's called How I Lost My Ear, and it's a humorous adventure for older children and adults that took me about 10 years to complete because it was such a challenging project. The truth is, I think this book is the best thing I've ever written, but it hasn't had nearly as many readers as my nonfiction books. It's gotten some glowing reviews, like these. So people like it, but it's been hard to get the book to stand out among all the other millions of books in the world. But if you like humorous fiction in the spirit of Roald Dahl, I encourage you to read it and enjoy it. It's a really fun story that's also great for reading aloud. And the illustrations by Simon Farrow are fantastic. You can find it at Amazon and at other booksellers. I'll put the link to Amazon in the video description below. And if you do read it, please let me know. I'd love to hear what you think. So now you know a few more things about me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll enjoy these videos too.